The New York Knicks are one of the most confusing teams. Led by star Jalen Brunson, the Knicks have one of the highest ceilings in recent memory and are good enough to win the Eastern Conference and potentially even NBA Finals, but are also one of the most injured teams in the league and looked very bad at times, leading fans to believe that they could be frauds. But are the Knicks actually good, and can they compete for their first title in over 5 decades? The Knicks have high aspirations this year as they made 2 big midseason acquisitions, trading for OG Anunoby and Bojan Bogdanovic, and in a weaker Eastern Conference that, aside from the Celtics, don't have some insane team as the Bucks are performing below expectations, the Knicks can compete for the title. They clinched the postseason spot at 42-28 and with a win percentage of 60%. But Jalen Brunson is one of the key reasons for that. Brunson is playing like an all-NBA level player with a career-high 27.5 points per game, a considerable amount more than last year's breakout season, and has been one of the best scorers, ranking 6th in points per game and 5th in total points, while he has been relatively efficient, shooting around 48% from the field and over 40% from deep, better than notable shooters like Damian Lillard, Trae Young, and Tyrese Maxey, as he is one of just 12 players to shoot over 40% on 6 or more threes a game. Brunson's bread and butter is the pick and roll, as he averages over 11 points, third most only behind Luke and Trae, and with over 1 point per possession as he sits around the 90th percentile. He's a crafty finisher and can operate in the mid-range while being one of the most underrated shooters, and has the ability to play off ball. This is by far the best regular season of his career, and he is a proven playoff dog. And with how the positionless and 65-game system is set up, should give Brunson his first All-NBA team of his career. Though he is just 6'2" and not a top 5 guy, Brunson is someone that elevates in the playoffs and could be a Jimmy Butler type player, where even though he is in a Jokic or Giannis, could be the number 1 on an Eastern Conference or potentially even an NBA Finals team. The problem is that the other main guy on his team is injured. Julius Randle has not played a game since January 27th, and the reports around his shoulder injury have not given us much insight. Randle made the All-Star game this season and averaged 24 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists, and the Knicks went 29-17 in the 46 games he played, on pace for 52 wins, while New York is just 13-11 in games he has missed and has gone on some very rough stretches in that time, though we will talk more about injuries later. A big positive about the team is the defense from virtually everyone on the court. Despite missing rim protector Mitchell Robinson for virtually the entire season, they still have the 7th best defensive rating, and that is because so many guys on the team are bought-in defenders. They allow the 7th lowest frequency of opponent field goals to be wide open with 6 or more feet of separation. Under Tom Thibodeau, effort is very high, despite some guys getting an absurd amount of minutes, with the best example being Josh Hart. He's a complete glue guy that every championship team needs on their roster. Hart is doing everything the Tibbs and the Knicks ask of him, from being a capable scorer that had averaged over 12 a game since February. The 3rd most points by Nick has been one of their lead playmakers, and has been a secondary facilitator through the Knicks' injuries. Has been a key rebounder with Robinson and Randle missing a good amount of time, or with great perimeter defense, and has the grit of someone elite on that side of the ball. He showed up big time in the playoffs last season, and hopefully he can regain his shooting in the postseason, which is a concern for him, though his shooting did get worse in the playoffs. He shot 3 for 4 in clutch threes in the playoffs, which is something that the Knicks could use. Though they do have a lot of shooters on the roster, both Dante DiVincenzo and Jalen Brunson are a couple of the best shooters in the league, while Anunoby, Bogdanovic, Randle, Burks, and McBride can all knock down shots. But the previously mentioned problem for this team is big, and that is injuries, as they are the 6th most injured team in WAR missed, with over 8 games lost. Julius Randle has missed 24 games and Mitchell Robinson 49. OG Anunoby, who strayed to the Knicks in December, has played just 17 of 39 games and has some interesting injury news. He did return on March 12th after a month-and-a-half long absence, but would deal with more elbow discomfort and has missed the last few games, and though there were reports that he felt better, there still is not a timetable on his return, which is worrying considering when him and Brunson play, the Knicks are 14-1 and 15-2 in all 17 of the games Anunoby played in. He elevates an already elite defensive team and provides more shot-making depth on the offensive side as a very impactful player and type of guys that succeed under Tibbs. The 3 mentioned injured players do all have hope to return before or during the playoffs, with Robinson having gone through full contact practice and he could be back by the end of the month, but there are still major question marks around them. This team has not been healthy together since before their trade deadline additions, and a team that has been so gritty defensively will have concerns about their chemistry. Randle and Robinson have never played with Bogdanovic and Burks, and the rotation will be experimenting with a lot of new lineups during the playoffs, which is very concerning. Guys that have important roles currently, like Isaiah Hartenstein, who has been one of the most underrated Knicks players compared to the national attention they usually attract, and Miles McBride, who can play 10 minutes in one game and 48 in the next and still succeed, will have their roles changed drastically, and who sticks in the rotation will be a very interesting thing to watch come playoff time. The preparation and reps by Tibbs will be extremely important, and even then, having that little time to adapt to playing with each other will be a huge concern heading into the playoffs if Randle, Robinson, and Anunoby even do return. It isn't a guarantee that Randle is healthy by the playoffs, and though they can get past lower seed teams without him, the Knicks cannot compete for the Eastern title without their 2nd best player, player, and Randle's potential return will be one of the most monitored things across the NBA over the next few weeks leading up to the postseason. Before I talk more positive about the Knicks, if you can subscribe, that would mean a ton. Pretty much everyone watching the video is not subscribed. I'm trying to hit 1,000 before the end of the year, so that would mean a ton to me, but back to the video. Now, despite all these injuries, the Knicks have been very solid recently. In their last 10 games, the Knicks are 7-3, and this is one of the best defensive stretches in recent NBA memory. Despite scoring just 101 points on average and shooting 44% from the field and 34% from three, their opponents are averaging just 94.8 points. Despite their rotation being completely decimated with Randle and Robinson missing all of these games and Anunoby missing just 3, it just does not matter. Those hustle guys like McBride, Precious Achiuwa, and Hart are playing amazing. Dante DiVincenzo is having the best year of his career, and in that 10-game stretch is averaging nearly 18 points and has a big role with this team. Guys are stepping up and the roster is very deep, with Alec Burks somehow being at the end of the rotation. We've seen the Knicks play very good defensively, and the stretch does not seem like it is that insane with how offense has been trending after the All-Star break across the entire NBA. And the fact that 2 of the team's best defenders aren't playing, this is just not a fluke and could be something that may not be exactly replicated, but at least close to it come playoff time. But can this team win it in the playoffs, which is really what the entire goal of this season is? They've made the playoffs in 2 of the last 3 seasons and have clinched a postseason appearance already and will make the playoffs this year. Have a team that can win there. Brunson is a star that can elevate himself and outperform high-level guards in the offs like he did Donovan Mitchell last season and go toe-to-toe with the best playoff performers like Jimmy Butler. Their defense is elite in the half-court, and they are a very solid team guarding the 3, which is important. They have some elite versatile perimeter defenders like Josh Hart and OG Anunoby with playoff experience, and they can be trusted locking up or at least containing some of the best players in the entire league. Both Isaiah Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson are good rim protectors, specifically Robinson, and their screen setting can help initiate offensive actions with Jalen Brunson, situations that he's elite in. They have tough shot makers that can play on and off ball and sit 11th in shot quality and top 10 in adjusted defensive shot quality, forcing their opponents to take tough shots. The trade additions of Bogdanovic and Anunoby make the Knicks even better than last season, where they made it to the second round before losing to the eventual Eastern champions Miami Heat. But how far can New York go this season? They're currently the 4th seed at 42-28, but just a half game back of the Cavaliers, who are missing Donovan Mitchell and have lost their last 3 and gone 3-7 in their last 10. It looked like they peaked too early, but the East is too clogged right now to see who they will play. The Magic appear safe as a top 5 seed but could drop, and the Pacers, Heat, and 76ers are all within around a game of each other, trying to escape the play-in and get that 6th seed. The 76ers would most likely be the easiest matchup, as with Joel Embiid either out or probably not at 100%. Philadelphia is not the same team they were at the beginning of the season. The Pacers do have clear flaws defensively, while the length of Anunoby could match up well against Halliburton, and the rim protection of Robinson could deter Hallie's playmaking and Toppin and Siakam's finishing. The Heat would be tough, as we have seen them turn to another gear in the playoffs time and time again, and even though they don't look good right now, it is the Miami Heat. We have learned not to doubt them come playoff time. But this Knicks team is the best version of New York basketball we have seen in decades, and with this team being built and most likely translating well to the postseason, they really can play with anyone.